with awesome human Julianne Vaccaro. And Julianne is so funny. Like yesterday when I mispronounced your name, I put like in writing because I was being playful. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I promise I'll get your name right tomorrow." Like I put it in writing, and then when I posted the story, it wasn't there. So I was like, I wanted you to see that. Not that I
The
just.
text, yeah. I had that happen to me the other day too. I was like, where'd the text
I
go?
know. I totally wanted you to see that because I was like, I don't want to just like let the whole. I don't want to just mispronounce your name and not even like type text about
No
it.
worries.
Okay, give me 2 seconds. Sharing on Facebook. I'll tag you right now. You are. Is it just your name, normal, spelled out? Julian
Facebook, yeah.
Caro. All right, cool. At, gotcha. All right, guys, we're gonna go. We're gonna start this in 1 second. I have sexologist and coach Julianne Vaccaro with us. Very curious to hear the definition and what you're doing as a sexologist, Julianne. This is going to be a very fun conversation. Okay. Done. Did you see that? All right, cool. All right, technology is set.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
You record on Zoom also?
What'd you say?
You record on Zoom also?
Of course. Yeah, this is how, I mean, the real, like what I send to iTunes and Spotify and all this stuff is the audio that I'm doing on this. So that is most important. Okay. I'll tag you on Instagram here as well. You're just Julianne Vaccaro. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. With at Julianne Vaccaro. Cool. All right, we're ready. All right, let's do it. Recording. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Really excited for today. Going to be an awesome episode. We have an awesome guest with us. We have Julianne Vaccaro. And I failed to ask you what part of the country you're in. I think my intuition is telling me you're in Colorado, but you'll correct me if I'm wrong. I think you're in Denver. Am I right on
Yep,
that? Okay.
Denver.
Awesome. I think I saw like one post where you said you were in Denver, so I think she's in Denver.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, Julianne, I discovered her Instagram page just maybe a few weeks ago, maybe not even, and immediately saw the love and light she was sharing with her audience, and knew we would have a fun conversation. I reached out to her and asked her if she wanted to chat, and she obliged. So that is what we're going to do today. Julianne is a sexologist and coach, and just all around awesome human. We're going to have a fun conversation today. So without further ado for me, I want to introduce you guys to Julianne. And if you could share with the audience so they're more familiar with you, who you are, what you do, why you do it, all this good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for bringing me onto the show. I'm excited to be here and just to dive into all of this stuff. So I'm a somatic sexologist and a women's holistic health and spiritual life coach. So I do a couple of different things. I'm a sex and relationship coach, again, also a somatic sexologist, and then I do masterminds with women. So ultimately, I work with female entrepreneurs, purpose-driven women, really reclaim their erotic goddess, or awaken their divine feminine, and soften into their power. My journey started about 8 years ago. I was in the health and fitness industry, and I really started from a place of trying to fix myself. My body was always the vessel for celebration or for punishment. It was always the thing that provided me a sense of worthiness and a sense of success. And so I started out as a holistic health coach, and I was very much a perfectionist at the time. So my perfectionism just led me into a lot of extreme behavior, and lot of procrastination. So I did everything with a lot of like force and muscling my way through. I tried every diet fad. I call them diet boxes. I tried every diet box under the sun. And I landed upon raw veganism for about 3 years, and I loved it for the time. But then my body started to kind of crap out on me, and I got really severe adrenal fatigue, hormonal imbalances. Started to heal myself from that, and then took a hard turn into the world of aesthetics. I became a yoga teacher. I taught boxing and kickboxing for about 4 years in UFC, and then I bodybuilded for about 3 years, and completely destroyed the relationship that I had with myself, my body, and food once again. And I had really severe digestive issues, food intolerances, had amenorrhea, like period loss. All of these hormonal issues came back, and all of my eating disorders that I had thought I healed came back as well. And so it started as another turning point for me, where I just started to look at, like, why am I doing this and who am I doing this for? So I decided to end the career of bodybuilding, step out of that industry, and rebuild a relationship that I had with myself. I wanted to get the physique that I really desired, but without restriction, without force, and really blend the world of aesthetics with the world of holistic health. So I did that, and as I started to heal, I started to peel back the layers for myself, and it just revealed a lot of deeper traumas and patterns in relationship that I was aware of, but I hadn't had the space to actually dive into and to work with. So through healing those relationships with food and body, started to dive into relationships, and was looking at abusive patterns that I had, and then that opened up the door into childhood trauma and healing work, which eventually led me into somatic sexology, because I kept feeling like so much of the work that I was doing was helpful, and it was helping me make progress, but it still wasn't getting me into a place of embodiment. Like, I wasn't actually living my truth. My body would still lock and have traumatic responses in certain areas, or it would feel like I had all the dots connected, but I still wasn't really where I wanted to be. And so that led me into the world of somatics. It led me into my own sexuality, healing that, reclaiming my own inner goddess and erotic self, and now into the work that I do with women today.
Super interesting journey that you have been on, and a great example for all of us. As you know, we've all had different roads that we've traveled in our journey, and there's things that we may be involved in right now for those of you guys listening out there, and you just have no idea how this will be able to be applied to things you'll be doing next week, next year, 5 years from now. And there's something, when you were highlighting your journey, I was like, oh my gosh, like I've been on like similar paths. Like I was telling a friend yesterday, there was a time where I was like 15 pounds heavier, like all muscle, than I am right now. And like, I really like my body right now. It's more natural. Like I don't have to work out 4 hours a day and carry 2 protein shakes with me in a cooler all day, every day. Like eat every 3 hours, set an alarm, take egg whites at 3 in the morning. Like I was like super crazy about it. So much more fun to just live a regular life.
So structured.
Yeah. So can totally relate there. But it's so interesting how this took you into your current path. And I just love to remind people that that's how it always is for all of us. Like, if you can just allow yourself to flow with the journey of life, and just be open to, what's next, where this might not be the end all be all, for any of us. At the same time, we'll be able to use this life experience for who knows what, going forward. So I love what you just highlighted. And so with the field of somatic, because I left that part off, and as I was promoting, I like saying that too. But I want you to explain for anybody that is in the audience, like what a somatic sexologist, like how that came into your awareness. The light bulb came on, and you're like, "This is awesome, and I want to share this with other humans." How did that all look?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I feel like I've had a lot of different turning points in my journey, and one of them was just like the biggest fall. It was the biggest fall. It was the end of an abusive relationship that ended with a lot of sexual trauma and discomfort and lack of safety in my body. And so that just opened up a whole world of exploring my past and the pattern of abusive relationships that I kept finding myself in. Although I had the awareness, I couldn't stop the pattern until this one ending where it was so big. It was like the biggest boom that I faced, and I was like, okay, I can't ignore this. Like, this is the wake-up call. And so as I started to heal, I was doing a lot of talk therapy. I was doing a lot of counseling, my own personal growth work. I was working with coaches, but it was all cognitive. Like, it was all talk therapy. It was cerebral, logical, and none of it was incorporating the body. And feminine, like all of the wisdom, all of our emotions, our feelings, trauma lives in the body. It doesn't live in our heads. And so it was about 6 months later where I felt like I had done the work. Like, I was like, I've resolved this. I've got this out. I can re-enter intimate partnerships. And once I started to go back into relationships and trying to step into intimacy with partners, my body would just completely lock, and it surfaced these deeper layers that were not yet healed. And so that led me into, okay, like, what is next? And it started to show me that sexuality was something that I never actually touched. Like, I did all of the work. I was also studying spiritual psychology, but sexuality was something that had so much resistance and so much charge to me that I just kept like shoving it under the rug. Until then, where I was like, okay, there is this sexual trauma. There is a lack of safety in my body. Like, where do I go from here? And I heard about somatic sexology in a podcast, and it resonated so much. And what I find now, and what was kind of revealed to me then, was that the lack of pleasure and the disconnect from my sexuality had so much to do with all of the other struggles that I was facing in my life. Like, I'd struggled with substance abuse, with those abusive relationships, with eating disorders. And what I found was that it was so much stuck energy in my sacral chakra. I was so disconnected from pleasure. I didn't know how to soften, to relax, to be in myself, to be with myself. And so there were so many layers that I needed to kind of move through. So the field of somatic sexology is a combination of somatic therapy and sexological body work. Sexology just means the study of relationships and sexuality, and somatics just means dealing directly with the body. So the practice that we do is very body focused. Like I mentioned before, the trauma lives in our tissue, not in our heads. And so basically what happens when we experience trauma, and I always like to preface this by saying that trauma is a range of things. Like, I've definitely been one to discount the traumas that I've had, because I've told myself the story that, well, women have had it worse. There's so much worse sexual abuse out there, or there's so many worse environments growing up and during home. And so I would discount the experiences that I had, not realizing how they were actually limiting the embodiment that I wanted in this present moment. And so traumas can range from your mom, restricting food for you when you were younger, and maybe you went through eating disorders, and so that was passed down into you. Like, those are smaller traumas, and then bigger traumas could be death or loss of a loved one, or really severe like bodily injuries and things like that. But science says that the accumulation of small traumas will have the same psychological effects as bigger traumas. And so that was really what I started to look at. So with somatic sexology, like I was saying, when you have these traumatic experiences, everything is energy. So our emotions are energy, and when we don't process, and when we don't complete the memory, it gets stuck and stored in our body. And so often we're moving through life with these unhealed memories, incomplete experiences where maybe something was going really well and then it went really south and there was a trauma there. So with somatics, we're going back into those memories, we're completing them, we're changing the way that they went. So maybe if there was a sexual assault, we can go back into that. We can reprogram the way that it happened, but from a physical somatic level, and shift the way and clear the charge that we have attached to those experiences. And then the work that I do is a combination of that plus sexological body work. So it definitely has a tantric flavor to it. There's only 4 different ways to shut off the frontal cortex, which is the fear center. So that's responsible, it's like your ego, right? So those 4 ways are orgasm, coma, plant medicine, and hypnosis. So we're using orgasm and sexual energy, which is the most powerful energy available to us, to really change our psyche, to bring you into a place of embodiment, the feelings that you want to have. That's what we're bringing you into. And we're also really allowing the body to experience pleasure for what is typically the first time for most people, to really feel like honored, worshipped, to be able to calm the nervous system down, to feel safe, to really understand what it means to be in a healthy spiritual sexual experience with yourself, with others, and really feel safe in that kind of a container to fully let your erotic self come out and to be met with love ultimately.
I love everything you just described, and now you're speaking into my definite listening as far as my favorite part of the human experience, which, you know, what I love for everybody to know, to be true, because when I discovered this, life just like opened up like crazy, is how, yes, we are all energy. I talk about that a lot. And at the same time, what a lot of people don't take into account until they become aware of this is that even though we have labels in the English language, for instance, like, you know, we're happy or we're loving or we're bliss, euphoria, nirvana, ecstasy. We don't really have words that are stronger descriptors than that, but our energy can actually go to places beyond that if we allow it to. And a lot of people I know, until they become aware that they can do this and how, they don't allow their energy to go to those places, which that's where the, like, you know, full body, you know, orgasms, and for guys, like being able to orgasm without actually ejaculating and things like this is where those things lie. And to be able to discover that stuff, like I've been to events, Julianne, where I've had like the EEG brain scanners on, where I could see like energy in the moment, where they might have said, you know, well, think of a time in your life where it was like a really rough time, and like I was able to see that. And then think of a time where you're on top of the world, that I could see like my energy moving from there. So, you know, for all of us, like what's really cool, what I love what you're doing, and I wasn't aware that this was a part of your work, which I love, like for someone to be able to allow their energy to go that way. And there is things that traumas that are living in the body, how you're describing, you're opening me up to some new awarenesses, the way you describe that. It's awesome because you're clearing the path for people to be able to go into these amazing, you know, parts of life that all of us are fully capable of experiencing whenever we allow ourselves to go there. And I just want everybody out there to know that this is possible for all of us. And, you know, these amazing energetic realms where you're just having, like I like to say, when I'm experiencing life this way, I like to ask my partner, is there anybody else on the planet that you feel is having as much fun as we are right now? Because if so, I'm so happy for them, because it can't be that many out of the 7.7 billion humans. Like how many, like percentage wise, are really having this type of, you know, fun? Because you can feel if your partner is in tune and you're in tune, like you guys can go places together where it's like, whoa, like you can feel their orgasm as much as yours, and you can orgasm at the same time. I mean, it's just like awesome stuff. So you're speaking into my listening with this part of the conversation for sure.
No, exciting, and there's so much available there, and I find that most of us are unaware of what can be with our sexuality and where it can take us. Like it can take us into these altered states. We can go into other dimensions. There's so much healing available there. Like I always talk about how sexuality is the most potent area for growth, but it's also directly related to the relationship that we have with money. It's related to us processing our emotions, the way that we bring things into the world, like life, creation, whether that's literal or figurative, like in business, I mean, birth and creations, ideas, physical life, all of these things are related in the sacral chakra. And so I find that there's a lack of information and education about what's possible with our bodies, especially female sexuality. And yeah, these experiences are just so beautiful.
Absolutely. No, I'm so like pro helping humanity just become aware of who and what all of us truly are, and knowing that, you know, whenever we become aware of something new, realizing that there's no like special breed of human where only they have the possibility of experiencing life this way. We're just all different expressions of just non-physical energy flowing through these physical expressions, called Julian, called Noel, called whoever you are out there. So we can really like be fascinated with all the possibilities of life. Like there's universal law and then there's possibility. So if we can be open to what is out there and be ready for things that will help us on our journey wherever we are, none of us need to know all the secrets of the universe ever. And we won't. And so and it's not necessary, but what can attract to us the things like, if you're attracted to this episode right now, or you're being introduced for the first time to Julian or being reintroduced, there's something there most likely that if I were you, even if it was just following her on social media, that follow the energetic nudge, because you just never know like what awarenesses can come. And this is something that your life has led you to right now, and it's so interesting. Like you've put a couple of things in my awareness that are awesome, which I really appreciate. So Fun conversation so far. Question for you. Like right now, we're recording this. It's what day is it? I don't know. At the beginning of April, April 7th, April 8th, something like that. Regardless, it's the beginning of April and interesting time in human history. If you guys watching this 40 years from now want to know what was going on in 2020, do a quick Google search. Unless Julianne mentions it and brings things up, totally okay. We could go anywhere. But I'm just curious anyway, what are you excited about in life right now? Like what's going on in the world of Julianne? What are you excited about over there?
Yeah, I like this question. I feel like the last year and a half, 2 years have been a lot of really deep healing work for me. I've done a lot of different practitioner programs and just diving into my own sexuality and spirituality. And with that, being an entrepreneur, my business has shifted and changed and evolved with me. And so it feels like there's been a lot of rebranding and rebirthing of who I am and what I'm teaching and who I'm helping. So it feels like this year of 2020, there's a lot more, I want to say clarity, but just it feels like a lot of alignment and a lot of okay, all of the tools and all of the pieces are here, and these are the different offerings, and this is how I can support and guide in the best way. So that feels really exciting to me. I'm in the middle of launching a brand new program called Awaken Your Divine Feminine, which is all about sacred sexuality, about reconnecting to yourself, coming home to your body's wisdom, and really softening into your power. So many of the women that I work with, and so much of my own journey, as you heard, was around being in my inner masculine and really being in my yang energy, being super structured, being very much in my doing, action oriented, cerebral logical processing. And while I was successful with all of that, there was a lack of happiness. There was no pleasure. There wasn't the sense of aliveness that I really wanted and was craving. And the quality of my relationships was not healthy. And so I really learned how to surrender into my feminine, but also dance between the polarities and how to bring that into relationship to create more, to go higher with a partner and with myself, and how to actually use all of that to fuel myself in business, to be able to call in more abundance, to call in more ideal clients, but from a place of knowing and intuition rather than force and penetrative energy, which is masculine energy. So really being in a state of receptivity, connecting to my own body's wisdom, trusting that, fully embodying that truth, and moving forward. So I'm just wrapping up another practitioner program that I was in, which is called Erotic Blueprint Coaching and Accelerated Evolution. So there's just more tools in my toolbox every single year. So I'm really excited to bring that into my somatic sexology practice, into the women that I work with in masterminds, and really allow them to heal the deeper layers of their souls, of their sexuality, to be able to show up free, clear, embodied in their message, to become the leaders that they are.
I love it. Super powerful stuff. You're doing awesome things. I love everything you described, and your tattoos are awesome. If I were you, I would be talking. I talk with my hands like crazy, so I'd be all over the place if I had those tats on my hands.
Awesome. Me.
So the question I have for you, because I always want to know this. You've been doing it throughout the episode, but just things that anytime someone hears this episode, which the internet could live, for a long time, and it seems like it's going to be around for a while. So people hearing this, right when it's released in a couple of weeks, or live on right now, or 50 years from now, what are some things that you would just want people to know from you that you've become aware of that you feel will make an impact in their lives? Whatever it is, anything could flow out.
Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind is something that I always like to say, which is it doesn't matter what you do, it's the energy you put behind it. And so I find this a lot with business, but in everything around, you can have all of the business information. You can know all of the steps and tools in business, in your relationship, when you're cooking, down to the simplest things and the biggest things. But what's most important is the energy that you put behind it. It doesn't matter if you have the perfect plan, but what is most important is the energy that's fueling you. So that's the first thing to really remember is how are you showing up to that? And what's the energy that you're putting behind it? The second thing that I would think of is intention. I think energy and intention go super hand in hand. That's a lot of those are my biggest takeaways really within my somatic sexology training was everything is energy, and it comes down to intention. Like if you are consciously putting intention into things, that is how we bring things into fruition. But most of the time, a lot of us are living in a very sleeping state where we're not aware of what we're doing. We're not aware of what thoughts we're having or what we're putting energy into, and so we're just kind of like going with the flow, and things happen. So my invitation for those listening, no matter how far in the future, is to really just put intention behind what you're doing, to be conscious of the energy that you're putting forward, where these things are coming from. And then the third thing would be to really connect with yourself and to, I want to say, work on the relationship that you have with yourself. Sometimes my mentor always reminds me, like, it's not work. Like, it can be fun, because it can be fun. But the relationship that you have to yourself is the first step in having healthy relationships to anything outside of us. So much of what shows up in relationship is a mirror of how we are relating to ourselves. So if we're abandoning of ourselves, if we're rejecting ourselves, if we're not listening, if we're not pleasuring ourselves, if we're not showing up with love, you better believe it's going to show up in the relationship that we have with our partners, with our friends, our relationship to things, like perhaps to our business, to our body. And so the first step is to look at that relationship to yourself, and when things are not going the way that you really want them to in life, how are you relating to that with your own relationship, and how can you start to shift the way that you're doing things in your life with yourself, and watch how that really starts to unfold differently in your external world.
I love it. So well said. You've inspired me a few times just with what you just described, and just going. I love whenever we could talk about energy and just help people understand like what this means and like how they can use it to their benefit, because it's just who all of us truly are. And for me, all that matters, Julianne, is my energy right now in this second, in the moment, because it's really all that exists is right now, and all that we can really control is right now. And for me, I'm not demanding of myself that, if we want to use labels, I'm not demanding of myself that I be blissed out. That's not really realistic, to be blissed out all, and we really wouldn't want to, because would we appreciate the bliss if we never had challenging times, if that wasn't part of the human experience as well? However, it also doesn't have to be like I'm spending lots of time being, just down in the dumps, like my worst feeling energy as well. If we can be aware of it, then we have the power of choice. And so for me, I like to start the day, like I'll meditate to start the day and just put my energy I just want to start the day in like peace, calm, or a stronger momentum than that. And then from there, any of us can feel if our energy goes from peace, like if we truly are at peace, or we're calm, or we're chilling, or we're just, we're excited about the day, or whatever energy that feels, good to you. And then we slip into like being anxious about something, or being worried or frustrated about something. We can feel that in the body. That's like a noticeable change energetically for all of us if we're paying attention, if it matters to us. And this is why I like to share this, because once we decide that this is important to us, and for me, I hold nothing back saying this is all I care about, is what's my vibe, frequency, energy, mood right here and now, because that's what reflects, and Julianne mentioned this earlier, this can be applied to your health, to relationships, to your abundance, to every area of life. This is how it works. You reflect what's going on inside out into the physical world. This is what manifests. And so once you have your energy on point in the moment, then you get to set these intentions. You can set intentions either way, but if you're setting intentions and then living your whole day being frustrated and anxious, you're just going to be moving towards whatever you're moving towards with frustrated, angry energy, or frustrated, worried energy, and your results are going to be a match to that. Like, you're going to reflect more frustrating results in your life. And so this is just good for all of us to know, versus if we can be connected, and no matter what you guys believe or don't believe out there, some might want to say the energy, this non-physical that I'm talking about, that's flowing through all of us, that is what is causing the planets to orbit and nature to flow the way it flows, and all of these things. Call it God, universe, love, all that is, source, spirit, the force, infinite intelligence, whatever you want to call it out there. Like, this is what all of us have access to when we're connected with it. And we can know we're connected with it if we could just say, I'm in a good mood, I'm at peace, like I'm chilling. And then momentum, like we talked about, can carry us up to where you can be experiencing some of these higher frequencies, which the energy charge behind that and what can be created from that space is just awesome, in all areas of life. So I love this topic. It's my favorite topic on the planet, because for any of us that become aware of this, life just becomes about, well, I'm in a good mood right now, so there's been an important call that I needed to make. Let me make it. And then you can trust the thoughts that are going to pop into your mind from that place. The words coming out are going to be a match to just your thoughts. And then your actions are going to be infused with that energy of connection or love or joy or happiness or passion or whatever the case may be. And life is so much fun when we can like live this way with intention and then actually flow powerful energy behind the intention to create anything that you want. And that's possible for all of us. So I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like something I've been playing a lot with my own self lately has just been every time I'm launching like a new program or something is really just being mindful of like how am I creating the environment for myself to be successful? Like how am I setting the intention to create the headspace to be in the trust of what will come? And to release attachment with that, but again, like that morning practice, like you were saying, starting with meditation is just so important. Like before this call, I danced for like an hour. I went up to the rooftop of my building and danced and did like a little sun dance for a good half hour, and that just brought me into all the good vibes. I always like to just talk about like self practice, and it doesn't matter what you do, but just like show up to yourself and let it be interchangeable, let it shift. And that's where you can invite some of your feminine in to make those decisions of like what would feel really good for me to bring me into the state that I want to be in. But what's most important is to yourself and having that self-practice.
I love it. Julianne, you're such a good example of going through challenging times in life that all of us do, and not staying stuck forever in the challenge, allowing yourself to evolve and move through and let yourself go to do different things where you've just been exploring different options on your journey and now found something that obviously you're super passionate about, and continue adding tools to your tool belt while making you more impactful for anybody that you choose to serve. And just for all of us out there, regardless of right now what it is that you're drawn to, or whether you want to help people or coach people or do anything, like for all of us, the best way that we can help another human being is being an example, embodying whatever it is that we would like to help people with. So you want to help people be happier, be happy yourself. If you want to help people be healthier, be healthy yourself. And that example will inspire people. And I just love to just remind people that all of us are this light, this energy, this light that we've been talking about all the way through. And if right now, especially in challenging times for humanity, the more that we can be the light and allow other people to be able to see your light shine, and it inspires them to shine theirs, the ripple effect that it can start for all of us is immeasurable. Like it's awesome. So I just want to compliment you, because you're an awesome example of all of these things that we've all experienced rough patches, and you just keep flowing. You keep evolving, and you're going to continue to. That's why I highly recommend everybody like connect with Julianne, because whatever you choose to create, going forward, it's going to be infused with all this energy that we've been talking about here, and the results are going to be awesome, or whatever you want them to be, and impact people as they're attracted to them. So you're awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think there's been so many turning points in my life, but it's always just elevated and elevated and created another up level. So yeah, I feel like if you're hearing this and you're in the struggle, or you feel like you've had struggles and you've had a rise, but now you're still not where you want to be, like every single level is a new challenge, and that's bringing you up to the next level. Like that's the area for promotion. That's the opportunity for promotion, rather, to get to that higher level for where you really want to be.
Absolutely, such a good realization right there for anybody. And also, I like to always remind, if you find yourself, especially at challenging times for individually or for humanity, if you find yourself like pointing or blaming or using external things as the reason that you feel a certain way, like just take an opportunity to know that that's where the work is for you, some of it. Because everybody, we're all mirrors for each other. And anytime we're using anything external there's something there to explore, because it's never the external. It's always our response and our story about the external every single time. Even if the external is horrendous, it's still how our story about it is what's allowing us to feel the way that we're feeling, which might be rough to like comprehend, because it might be easy to say, you hit me, so I feel this way. But it's just really, there's so much more going on than just that. So I always like to make sure that I remind, because it's so easy to blame external, especially when there's rough things going on in our lives. And it's just, it's really a gift. Even though it might be challenging in the moment, it's a gift for us to be able to explore some areas of our life that can evolve, which up-leveling and whatever language you want to call it out there, that's what we're going to always be doing as long as we're here. So it's awesome.
Totally.
Yeah. It's just fun.
It's a hard lesson to learn. It's like the lesson of unattachment and like you said, that example that you gave is like, okay, I'm upset because is something that like that's still in our control. But I think there's so many scenarios that we can find ourselves in, like, okay, maybe we are hit, or maybe there is abuse. That was one of the hardest lessons to learn. I'm like, okay, how do I navigate this where I understand these lessons, but still like take self responsibility and navigate that. So there's so much there.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, and I never want to like. I'm never ever saying like when stuff is already manifest. And you mentioned this earlier in the episode. When stuff's already physically manifest, like if someone has physically manifested an abusive relationship, I don't ever. It never matters to me why it all happened. Like I'm never going to be the person that says you attracted all this stuff. Like we all play a role. Like we're all co-creating with the universe. Like it is what it is. But there's also things that before we come here, like our soul wants to evolve. So there's things like if you come here with a handicap, or if you come here with a learning disability, or if there's death in your family, like premature, that we're like, oh my gosh, like traumatic events like are helping our souls evolve too. So it's challenging to wrap our minds around all that, but there's more at play than what we're ever going to fully understand. So for me, it never matters like all the reasons why things have physically manifested, because we won't know all the reasons how and why. Like that's not our work. However, once it's physically manifest and maybe we're experiencing a challenging time, or maybe you're experiencing something that you really love. For all of us, like we want to manifest something new that isn't yet in physically manifestation, this process is the same for all of us. And it doesn't matter in what area of life. It's being able to be the frequency, be the energy of whatever it is that we want to bring into creation, and to be able to live that way and flow our energy towards the creation of whatever that is. And then we'll attract the synchronicities that we need, the ideas, people, places, circumstances, and then we'll create new. That's how everything that we see around us was created. The chairs that Julianne and I were sitting in, at some point there were no chairs on the planet. And someone said it would be really nice to not have to sit on the ground, or only be able to sit over there where there's that big rock. Like I'd like to be able to sit over here where my family is. So let me create something where I can sit down and not have to sit on the ground or stand. And then they flow intention and their energy towards the creation of a chair. Probably fell down. The other tribes people were probably like, "You're an idiot. We'll just sit on the floor. Don't worry. What are you doing?" So this is how it will be for all of us. So embrace it, enjoy it.
Yeah, I love that explanation. I think there's, like you were saying, with their soul's contract and like making those decisions before coming into this life, into this body. And like you said, not trying to figure it all out. Like the more that we try to figure out the why, the more that we get lost and we go down this rabbit hole. I was really good at this before, sure. And then I had to learn like, okay, the why is for me, and how, like, what am I learning here? What is my lesson, and how do I move forward? And if there was a lesson here for me, like, what would it be?
I love it. I love it. As much as I like to tell people as far as like their role in what they see, because I look at life as a movie, Julianne, and like we like to talk about synchronicities and things that, you know, life is really just one long synchronicity, because we can't predict any of this stuff. Like all the stuff that's happening, like we didn't predict that. Couldn't have predicted that I was going to come across your Instagram page, say this is an awesome human, send her a voice message, she says yes, now we're talking, having an awesome conversation, sharing it with you guys. Like these are all unpredictable things that are just another example of synchronicity. What I like to just remind is that synchronicities aren't all the glorious parts of the movie. It's not all like the fun. Like every story has the part of the movie where it's like, damn, those characters are experiencing it right now. I hope they get through this alive. Like it's a rough part of the movie. So we all have those as part of our lives as well. And a good way to experience more of that drama is to leave your house every day being frustrated and angry and being rageful and being just in these really dense frequencies. Just know that that's your frequency. Then you're going to manifest more drama on the screen. So that you're just going to play a role in that, the dramatic part of the movie. It's part of the human experience as well. If you like drama, just leave the house angry every day and you'll experience a lot of it. I tell people, like, in the basic form, like if they've never heard anything about anything that I talk about, I just say just pay attention tomorrow when you leave your house and every day after that, what your mood is. And if you're in a good mood when you leave the house, just notice how there's lots of other people in a good mood around you. And it seems the day just seems to go really well. You have good ideas, you have good interactions with human beings. And then on the days where you leave the house in a bad mood, just pay attention to all the different challenges that you experience, the traffic problems and the this and the that. And it's just great to notice. And then when you notice that you are playing a role in this, we can take a lot of responsibility and make it important to us. And for me, I'm so excited when any human being makes that important to them, because then you have your power and you can go live out whatever you choose to live out. So
totally.
Yeah. This is awesome. I could flow with you forever. I'm just flowing. Like you're inspiring me every time you say stuff, and I'm just like flowing out whatever comes out. Do you want to share with the audience? Like you guys can find Julianne on at Julianne Vaccaro, Vaccaro. Yeah.
Yeah. You're good.
I had to make up for butchering your name on the Instagram story yesterday. I was so embarrassed. I was like, no.
No worries. You're so good.
I love it. Well, this is an awesome conversation. Like I really enjoy flowing with you, and I will affirm our first collaboration, not the last though. There's some things that I am cooking up for humanity that I love awesome humans like you involved because you're just so passionate about the things that you're doing, and you're allowing yourself to just continue to evolve and attract new things to add to your tool belt, and that's just a never-ending process for all of us. And I'm so excited for anybody out there that has the light bulb has come on when you realize that we can all be super confident and super humble at the same time. Confident knowing that we're all the same non-physical energy, just in these different human expressions. I'm in Miami, the ocean is right there, so I like to say that we're all just different waves in the same ocean of all that is. So the waves may look different, but they all make up the ocean. So that's you out there as well. You were all individual waves. So I'm rooting for all of you guys. And at the same time, we could be super humble knowing that none of us are any better or worse than the rest of us. So just be able to look around humanity and be like, wow, they're awesome. I love what they're doing. And maybe you want to do something similar, or maybe you just use them as inspiration to go do whatever you want to do, but just know that that's an expression of you. And if you look around humanity and you're finding people to point at and blame and, condemn, then just know that that's a reflection of you too. And you get to do some work there if you choose to. So it's all good. I'm just rooting for everybody. And I appreciate you taking the time to flow this energy this morning. Morning for you, afternoon for me. But you're awesome, Julianne. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me on. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Well, you guys out there, thank you for tuning in, and definitely share this episode. It'll be super useful for anybody that you're inspired to share it with. And definitely follow Julianne and connect with her if you're inspired to for coaching or anything that sprung up from hearing this. And definitely rate and review. Continue to. Thank you for those of you guys that have been subscribing and rating and reviewing. You're making it easier for people to find this. And I just learned last night there's no rule against leaving multiple reviews. So you can go on there and be like, that Julianne human was so awesome. Like the things she was sharing. I'll screenshot it. I'll send it to her. I'm sure she'll appreciate that. So I just learned that from iTunes. There's no rule against that. So you can leave 2 or 3. Go for it. It's all good. So, well, thank you guys out there. Thank you guys for tuning in live.
Make a lot of rules.
I know, right? I'm more of a ask for forgiveness than permission anyway. So they would have to contact me and be like, Noel, you need to stop these humans from leaving so many reviews. Well, thank you guys for tuning in live. And I'm going to keep doing these live constantly. Like this is fun, giving people a chance to hear these before the full episode comes out in a couple of weeks. So we'll talk to you guys soon. Have an amazing day whenever you hear this, whether it be in a few weeks or 50 years from now. Me and Julianne are still here thriving. Look us up. Say hello. I'll talk to you guys
so much.
We'll talk to you guys soon. Awesome. So much fun. Now let me stop the stream and I'm going to say bye to you. Stream.